I had just put out literally my first single from my album Gratitude. I put out on March 12th, 2020, and then the world shut down the next day. I had had all these gigs lined up with the band. We'd rehearsed. Everything disappeared. And I started doing Facebook live shows from my front porch. And the algorithm would deliver me to people all over the world.
This is Rob Ruckus.
Hey, this is Kate Clover.
Hey guys, it's Nick Collins here from The Effect and Better Strangers.
Hi, my name is Madeline Rose.
Hey, it's Ben McKelvey.
It's Tim Howard here from Mike and the Mechanics.
Hello, I'm Amanda Lehman.
I'm Billy Harvey.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Casey Sampson from the band Twist Stop.
Hey, it's Tony from Fastball.
Hello, everybody. My name is Isaiah Mitchell.
Hey guys, it's Matt here from the White Lakes.
You're listening to Almost Famous Magazine.
Come join us for this interview. Check it out, Almost Famous Magazine.
Welcome back to The Hang right here on Almost Famous Magazine. I'm your host, Scott Saldinger. This is where we hang with musicians and artists and share their stories. If you're new, please subscribe and share. You can also take The Hang on the go anywhere you listen to your podcasts. We're now available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more. On today's episode, we welcome New Jersey-based Americana singer-songwriter Eric Harrison. He's a trial attorney by day, so if you're watching and you need a good attorney, this may be an opportunity. I don't know if I'll put his 800 number below, but hey, we'll do what we can to help him out, both in music and professionally. But he's been a lifelong musician, has been honing his craft for over 30 years, known for his witty storytelling in the tradition of Bob Dylan, Elvis Costello, Bruce Springsteen, and more. Eric has earned national attention with songs like Opening Day. If you hear it, you've heard it on the Yes Network. In Spring Training, it's an anthem. And the buzzworthy A Jersey-Sized Disgraced. Now he's back with his eighth, I'm telling you, eighth. So there's a lot of music for us to explore with him today. Studio album, Bittersweet. He's delivering heartfelt reflections on desire, loss, and life in Jersey. Eric, welcome to The Hang.
Thanks for having me down the shore where everything's all right.
Absolutely. Summers are spent. Dreams are made. This is where we kind of start our conversations because I always like to get to know someone. In your origin story, tell me the story. Did you find music or did music find you? And what led us to today, considering there was law school in between?
Well, music found me as a fan, and I think I had a cool uncle when I was a little boy, and he was a bit of a 60s acid casualty, and I didn't really fully understand him, but I could tell he was kind of outside the mainstream. And his parents, my grandparents, they bought me the Beatles' greatest hits albums, the Red album and the Blue album, each one of them a double record. The first one covered like 61 through 65, the second one 66 through 70. And in 10 years, you see these fresh-faced boys from Liverpool become these weary, seasoned hippies making the most incredible music that's ever been made. And that's really where it took off. I remember at a young age, my grandpa was going on a business trip to London, and he said, "I'll call you Sunday night." And I responded, "Well, I don't know if your Sunday night is my Sunday night. I mean, the time difference we can take care of." Well, they have 8 days there. What? There's 8 days in England per week. No, Eric, that's a Beatles song. But I started taking music very, very seriously at a young age. And I was mostly a fan. I didn't pick the singer-songwriter path in my teens. I would have had more attention from the ladies if I did. I picked the trumpet. I played in a marching band and a jazz band. You too, huh?
Me too. Yep.
Yeah. And I didn't start. I remember I had such strong opinions about what I liked and I didn't like. And I got into a debate with somebody about the Joshua Tree by U2. So this would have been like 88 or 89 maybe. And there were parts of Daniel Lanois' production I really liked. And sometimes on certain songs, I felt like the Steve Lillywhite approach would have been better. And these were my opinions at age 17 or 18. And the guy I was talking to said, "You are so full of it. Just if you can do better, make your own." And that sort of planted a seed. And I taught myself guitar. I haven't developed much as a guitarist since then, age 19, but I just started writing on my own, recording on my own, no real objective in mind. I always wanted to be, this isn't like a very rock and roll story. I can't say music saved my life. It's the only thing I can do. I wanted to be a lawyer. I'm glad I'm a lawyer. I wanted to go to law school. I did have an opportunity to take a detour between college and law school. And my dad said to me, if you do that, you're not getting a dime out of me for law school. And then being the prideful, angry young man that I was, I said, well, then I don't want your stinking money. I'm an adult now. And then the opportunity fell through, but I didn't have the gumption to go back to my dad and say, okay, I'll take your money now. So I put myself through law school. I started writing some pretty good songs then. And I always just thought of music as something I would love to do and love for it to be lucrative and maybe take time off from being a lawyer if I ever got lucky. But it just fit. I wrote while I was there. I recorded while I was there. I started playing out. I'd say this is probably a longer winded answer than you want, but just to bring you up to the present, like during maybe in my 30s, when I started pouring real money into putting out CDs and I had one kid and another on the way, I thought maybe I'm being irresponsible. Maybe it's time to hang this up because what's really happening? Nobody really cares. And eventually I took a few years off, but then I came back and I realized, like, if I'm making music that I find myself wanting to listen to, that itself is inherently satisfying. And to grow my footprint is great. I don't harbor any illusions that it's going to grow to the point where I'm going to make a killing from it, but it's what my attitude has continued to be. I plan to keep doing it until I run out of good songs. And I'm not particularly unique as an artist. If you listen to my music, you can hear like my influences are obvious. But one thing I do have is a good inner critic. And I know that when I create something that is not worth releasing, it's not going to get released. And until that happens, I'm going to keep putting stuff out. Oh, there go the lights in my office. See, we save money here. That's okay. You see me well enough. I like the dark.
Oh, well, maybe if you flap a little bit, it'll
I
come back.
could keep flapping. There we go.
There you go.
Let there be light. See what a New Jersey songwriter can do?
There you go. Look, you have the power.
Clearly.
Well, so it's an interesting story because, and although I can appreciate, a little self-deprecation, I mean, you're probably better than you give yourself credit for. I've listened to your music and enjoy it. But like, given that you said that you started learning guitar at 19, you haven't really evolved very much. How did you approach songwriting, and what is your overall approach to find that creativity that's satisfying for you, given the skills that you have?
For me, I'm a word man. As you can probably already tell, I talk a lot. Language is very important to me. I was an English major in college. I'm a lawyer now. It's all about the written and the spoken word. And I start with I hesitate to call it poetry, but I'll start with a couple of lines or a couple of thoughts, and then I will just put them down. It used to be in a notebook. Now it's in the memos on my phone. And melodies come to me. There are very few melodies I've written that can't be traced back to other songs that I love. There's only, 12 tones, but when they come together and start taking form, sometimes I'll start with a melody and then I'll look for ideas to throw on top of it. I'd say 9 times out of 10, I've got a couple lines that I think evoke a sentiment that I just start building around it and then put some chords down, see what fits. I'll do a scratch recording. I'll send it to my producer, Kevin Salem. We'll get in a room together. 9 out of 10 times he'll accept my basic template 1 out of 10 times he'll say, that's kind of pedestrian. Let's turn it in this direction. I'll follow his lead. And, it usually develops into something pretty good, because by the time I get there are enough strong ideas and that I'm not embarrassed to share it. So I think it's pretty good for starters.
Let me ask you, because you had mentioned in your story that you kind of reached a point where you realized that this wasn't going to be the rock and roll dream that everyone aspires to. What was, when you reached that realization, was it deflating for you or was it liberating? Like, how did that moment give you a different sense of the musician you could become?
That's a great question. I never really thought of it that way. When I was younger and I had more of a chip on my shoulder, it was deflating. Like, I'd say in the 90s, it was upsetting because I heard a lot of people who I considered to be lesser talents working within my genre, and knowing somebody, they didn't have the phrase Nepo baby back then, but there was a lot of that, and a lot of mediocrity got celebrated. Back then it was monolithic, and your goal was a major record label or MTV, which is, not currently how things work. But I was bitter a little bit. And then eventually, I guess, as my life got happier, I married someone who's great. I started a family. I realized this is something I can still do and enjoy and get better at. I think, gradually it became a liberating thing. So I used to be annoyed by the sort of ethos that if you're not a starving artist, you're not legitimate. You got to be touring the country in a van, or you have no credibility. I don't know if you're as old as me, but you probably remember Maximum Rock and Roll magazine. Like, their whole ethos. I remember when Green Day got signed to a major label, there was a photo on the front, which nobody would ever do now, but it said, "This is your friend on a major label," and had a gun to somebody's head. Like, come on, you guys. It's not us and them. It's not the man and the counterculture. Art is art. Britney Spears has made some amazing music. The Velvet Underground, some of their music has sucked. You judge it on its own merits.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think that's, art, whether it's music, whether it's photography, film, whatever, the greatest part of it is that we all get to see what we want to see in it, hear what we want to hear in it, and make it, although it was made for the purpose of the artist, we can make it our own and have our own meaning with it. And I think that's where the business side of it messes it up a little bit, because, let's be honest, they've spent millions of dollars promoting artists that may not have resonated as well, but for the sake of maybe they have whatever the thing is, right? And missed a lot of other artists that truly have a thing that should be shared. So it's, and who knows what's right or wrong at the end of the day. And let's be honest, the business has eaten its own lunch. So, look where they are now. I mean, most everyone, if you want to create your music, you've got to be an independent artist if you want to have control and if you want to have the ability. But at the same time, the business has changed so dynamically. It's also, hundreds of times harder to get noticed, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's for a guy like me, it's a net positive, because the democratization of everything. Yeah, it means that I'm, every time I put out a single, there are 50,000 other cuts released that day, but I'm still on a platform where one can hear the Beatles and Bruce Springsteen and Joni Mitchell, unless she's still picketing Spotify. I think Joni may be back on, and you can hear me alongside my heroes. So in terms of that, I mean, given a choice between that and the 90s, when I used to mail my cassette demos off to the few record companies that would take them, and I'd get form letters, and I'd be limited to selling cassettes at gigs. I prefer now. Yeah.
Well, and I look at it this way. I mean, what we do here is very grassroots. We're not paying for followers. We're not paying for promotion. We're doing this ourselves. And those who decide to subscribe, which hopefully everyone watching today will, but those who choose to subscribe are here because they want the content. They enjoy what we're doing, these stories, the opportunity to really have a conversation, not be formulaic. And I think as a musician, it opens the opportunity that the people who really listen to your music really want your music. And you have you have a very specific way in which you can determine who really cares about your art, and you can focus on that audience, and let them be your word of mouth. So I think there's a lot to be said for being able to hone in on an audience and allow them to really build you up in a way that really wasn't there before.
And ironically, COVID helped that. When I had just put out literally my first single from my album Gratitude, I put out on March 12th, 2020, and then the world shut down the next day. I had all these gigs lined up with the band. We'd rehearsed. Everything disappeared. And I started doing Facebook live shows from my front porch. And the algorithm would deliver me to people all over the world. And I don't know any Spanish, so that put me at a disadvantage because I developed a huge, like 50 people per broadcast. But to me, that's huge, following, I think, Brazil for a while. And, but eventually we used some Google Translator and I could start speaking to people. And it was really fun and interesting. And, to have a couple thousand followers on social media to somebody just doing this for the hell of it with nobody pushing for him, that was a great thing I stepped in. And to have people beyond my own little orbit in my own life actually caring and engaging was very gratifying.
Well, after this airs, check where your followers are, because I know we do well in Slovenia. So
sweet.
You never know what's going to happen. Let's talk about why we're here today. It's your 8th album, Bittersweet. Tell me where it came from, right? What was the germination and genesis of this new album?
Well, it's really pretentious, but I got to be honest. I was dealing with some challenges in my life. Being middle-aged, you're going to lose some people. And I was reading the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoics, and a few phrases and a few concepts really spoke to me. Bear and forbear all you can. Memento mori, remember you could leave this world tomorrow. The Stoic concept of not being unemotional, but spending your emotions prudently, because you've only got so much before you're burnt out. See, just like that. Hang on, come on, give me light. Let there be light. And that's got to be a poetic signal of some sort. And so I was writing at the time, and just the songs I was writing took on that sort of duality of, on the album, on the record, I call one side appetite, I call side 2 equanimity. The concept is this is how I'm dealing with really, really strong emotions. And this is how I'm resolving it, by talking about how we're all going to pretty much get what's in the book for us if we're as good as we can be to each other. It sounds like real hippy dippy stuff, but that was the structure I had in mind. And those were the thoughts I had in mind when I wrote the songs.
Well, let's I want you to talk me through a couple of the songs.
Sure.
I've picked a couple. I've got one for the last one I'm going to give you, just because it's something. I'm coming to you from Texas, but I'm a New York guy originally, and it's something that I kind of miss, and I'm curious about the song title. But like, Sing What I Can't Say, where did that song come from?
Okay, this was a very specific experience. My youngest daughter, who's now a sophomore in college, at the time I wrote it, she was a senior in high school, and my bass player, Mike Doktorsky, his daughter was a freshman at NYU, and my kid was interested in NYU. So we went in for the day. It was a gorgeous day. I was sitting in Washington Square Park. My daughter instructed me, look, we're going to be walking around here, but if we pass you, pretend not to know us. Don't embarrass me. So I was following orders, and there was a beautiful young mom pushing a double stroller, wearing a leather biker jacket with Motorhead artwork on the back, and a little baby boy in the front, and the girl standing facing him and turning around and saying, I want to go here. I want to go there. Can we get ice cream? Can we do X, Y, and Z? The mom, I know the look of an exhausted mother because I was married to one. I am married to one who was even more exhausted when the kids were little. And she had to take care of this baby and was hoping he was going to nap and deal with the tantruming toddler. And I thought to myself, okay, what's their story? And what would she say about the baby daddy? Where's he? What's he doing? And I kind of put myself in the position. I'm not going to be a creep and walk up to her and say, tell me your story. But I extrapolated thinking, all right, maybe I'm the dad figure. I'm going to speak from the dad figure who's on tour with his band across the country. This is a chick into Motorhead. She might have met her husband in the mosh pit back in the day. And so I wrote the song from the perspective of the absent, estranged father trying to make that connection and lamenting that he lost it. And that's really where I went.
That's great. How about, and I picked this one, and I'm glad you kind of brought up, we talked a little bit about your writing and where that comes from, but accidental poetry fascinated me.
Well, I've always been obsessed ever since the 80s. Do you remember the band The Mekons by any chance? Okay, so you're an indie guy. The Mekons are a great, very overtly, if I remember correctly, political band. And I'm not much of a quote unquote political rock fan, but great music is great music. And one of their albums that I used to play when I was a college DJ had a monkey at a typewriter. And I know it was hearkening back to the old cliches, which is something like put a monkey in front of a typewriter and who knows, Shakespeare could come out. And the idea of who knows what might happen if you put yourself out into the world. It also fits with my sort of self-deprecating shtick, which I do acknowledge is a shtick. And I just like the phrase accidental poetry because that's what would come out, you know, if there were something good there, and really making meaningful connection with somebody and an electric attraction that you have. If you're lucky enough to be alive and to experience that kind of jolt, it's accidental poetry. Like, who knew I was going to step in this today and my life was going to take this turn? So I was kind of proceeding from that and then doing the sort of Buddy Holly, aw shucks, I hope the girl pays attention to me kind of thing on top of it.
Nice. I like that story. Yeah. I mean, I'm a believer we're all accidentally, everything happens accidentally. I mean, I'm by day, I've been in professional selling or problem solving or chief problem solver, like I gotta call it. But I'm an accidental salesperson. Nobody wakes up in the morning going, I'm going to go take on that career. Right.
Right.
So, one thing I miss about the Northeast and my grandparents, lived in Union.
In Union, New Jersey?
Yeah, in Union.
You are a Jersey boy.
Yep.
I bet you knew Artie Lang from the Howard Stern show, but that's probably a whole other conversation.
I've met Artie in the past. Yeah. And I still listen to the show. My mother was born. My father were born in the New York area and lived in Yonkers. I've lived in Buffalo, Rochester, Long Island. I've lived all over. But there's something I miss in Texas that I just can't get here, which is that diner experience. Like there's that all night, 24/7, 365 greasy spoon that you go into. And that, the grease on the grill is the same hash brown grease you had 3 days ago, right?
It's great.
So you close the album out with Diner. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. So I have a reputation among friends and family for being very friendly, particularly when I'm in a good mood, which is not uncommon. And I'm particularly in a good mood when I'm at a good diner. Breakfast is my jam. My first album was called Breakfast. I've always been like, when I was in my 20s and 30s, I was really like a 55-year-old just waiting to become that age. I love getting up early and going to a diner. It's just part of my jam whenever I can work it into my daily routine. And when I'm happy in a good place in a diner, I'm going to be friendly. Um, and I have been criticized for being overly friendly with wait staff, hopefully not in a creepy way. But I will say that I've developed a lot of friendships with people I've met who work in diners. I have friends I've helped with restraining orders, with DUIs. Yes, I occasionally get some free coffee or a free meal for it, but these are people who become real friends in my life. Some who've stopped waiting tables, gone on to careers, and we've stayed in touch. But um, the 24-hour diner, which thanks to COVID is harder to find now, but still exists, was a thing where you always knew, like, this is where I can go anytime. And when I was a young divorcee living in Red Bank, we had the Broadway Diner in the late 90s. I would go there. If I couldn't sleep, I'd go there at 4 a.m. If I got home late from somewhere, I'd go there at 1 or 2. I'd be friends. It's a place where everybody knows your name. It's where I've written back when people wrote letters by hand. When my first marriage ended, I had a brief starter marriage in my 20s. I went to the diner in East Brunswick where I grew up, and I wrote letters to about 10 people who are important to me by hand, telling them what had happened, what's going on in my life. And because I wanted to get it out. This was pre-email. And so diners are really, really important in my life. And I just, at the time, I will tell you, did you recognize the song, the two songs I ripped off in Diner melodically?
Not quite.
Well, I'm going to plead guilty now. If somebody wants to come after me, here's what we call an admission against interest. I was listening to Townes Van Zandt and the song Poncho and Lefty. I think he wrote that one. Willie Nelson recorded it. So many other people have recorded it. And of course, Dead Flowers by the Rolling Stones is one of the greatest crossovers. A lot of people say that Graham Parsons wrote it because it's so good, but I think he might have influenced it, but he didn't write it. So those are the two songs I found myself ripping them off melodically. And I really didn't have a problem with that because the way I put the words together and the sequence of it, the chronology of it, I thought was really inventive. And it came to fruition really nicely for me. If there's one song that had me thinking, all right, it's time to put out an album, it's probably that one.
Yeah, no, it's a great song, and it made me think back to those times. I mean, when I was in college and we'd go to the diner, spend half the night studying and working on things.
Come on, diner. Come on, waitress. Fill my coffee cup. Holy Toledo.
Let's get that light going again.
It's different on the weekends. On the weekends, apparently, there's a greater delay here at the law firm.
So you've got 8 albums out, and one of the things I like to make sure that we do is those who are watching us now, who have been here for while you've been making some light to your story, that I'm done. If someone is new to you and new to your catalog with 8 albums, tell me about 2 or 3 songs that you really feel define your sound and style. So as if someone is first introduced to you, where should they start their musical journey with you?
Well, the song that jumps out in my early years is called Storm Your Revolution. It encapsulates my angry young man phase. The musical simplicity, the acoustic guitar based approach, the words, the way I do my lyrics, the feeling. I love singing that song because it's an angry song. It's like a letter to myself in the future. I wrote it when I was like 24, 25. I was actually starting law school, and I was thinking, look at all these people I don't want to be a sellout. I want to stay true to what I'm all about. And how am I going to do that when money beckons? Like the thoughts of a young person who hasn't yet joined the workforce. That kind of maximum rock and roll ethos of us and them. And so that song really captures that period. And I think it's a good introduction to me. In terms of since then, maybe Relay Road, the first single from my a couple albums ago, a couple EPs ago, was about heroes that we've lost and dedication to passing it on, to carrying the torch, not pretending that I'm important enough to be taking the torch from Joey Ramone, but saying that so long as there are people who love what we love and keep the spirit going, whether by listening to it, whether by creating it, and doing that melodically with some loud guitars, those are two pretty good introductions, I guess.
Nice, nice. And for those who couldn't make it on September 6th, how was your album debut show? How was that experience?
It was so great because I had rehearsed. My guys are just weekend warriors with me. You know, we've never been a touring band, but they're really good friends who learn my songs, and and they get paid, but not by much. Like they're really passionate about what they do. We had 4 or 5 rehearsals over the summer where I decided these are the songs I'd like us to do as a group. The guys learned it. It sounded like shit at the beginning. Then we got a little bit better. It went exactly as I had hoped. The only slight rub was everything was going perfectly until I dropped my Gretsch, and I dropped it on the neck. And this was right before I was about to take the stage. There's no roadie to fix that shit for me and adjust a truss rod. So I tune it quickly, but then I play an E chord and it's painful. So and there's certain of my songs that it almost gives me pain to hear me playing acoustic guitar on. I need the noise of an electric guitar. No matter what you do with the EQ on the acoustic, it's still not going to sound right. I lost the ability to do that. So I played the whole gig on my acoustic. Ultimately, not a big difference. Emotionally, I had to get over it because I so wanted that nastiness coming out of my amp. But I had 2 other guitarists with me to fill the void. And it was a lot of fun. We got a nice reception, and we sounded good. The most important thing. It was great.
That's great. No, I'm glad. It all worked out well in the end. You know, one thing I'm always interested in is because we live lives of revolving doors, right? Or sliding doors, and people come and go in our lives. Has there been one individual who's come into your life? They could still be here. They may have come in and out. Who's had the largest impact on your musical journey? Is there one person that you can...
Yeah, that's not even a close call. That's Kevin Salem, my producer. I met Kevin. I loved Kevin Salem's guitar playing through the 90s without even knowing his name because he played on Freddie Johnston's best records. And I'm a huge Freddie Johnston fan. And then fortuitously, Kevin ended up being a producer of a friend who let me know how great he was to work with. And I liked her music. And I wrote a song that really called for his approach. It was about 10 years ago that I just reached out to him through his website. And he said, yeah, I do remote work. Send me what you got. We'll upload it on Dropbox. And I remember walking out of a timeshare place I was with my family. I think it was maybe New Year's or Christmas 2014 or 15, and putting in my earbuds and listening to his mix of the guitar he put on a song. And I just started weeping. And it was great. So are you still able to hear me? I got a little warning. Great.
Yeah.
And we've been working together for 10 years since then, and it's been fantastic.
Awesome. Now with that, we always like to put good things out here, and you never know where opportunity could find you. and I'm always fascinated by the answer to this question. If you had an opportunity to collaborate with one other artist for one day in the studio, who would it be and why?
You know, my kid's a Swiftie. I think it would be Taylor. I think she's one of the greatest living songwriters. I think I'd sit back and let her do most of the talking, and I would just watch her, and I would learn a lot. I don't know if I would have much to contribute to her, but I think she's just so fantastic.
All right. Well, anyone out there who's watching, who's connected to Taylor Swift, or Taylor, if you're watching,
Yeah,
because all you've got to do now is wedding plan. Maybe you've got a little time to spend with Eric.
clearly.
Everybody who watches knows that we're all about purchasing music, supporting artists. Go out and buy his album. Go out and buy all 8 of them. Go out and purchase his music from Bandcamp, wherever you can get it. All the links will be below. We'll take care of all that. We'll give you the guidance to get there. But
Very cool.
We think it's important that we share other artists. Like we're sitting here we're just hanging out. Who are a couple artists that when you're not making your own music or you're doing something else out, you're at the gym, you're out for a walk, you're meditating, whatever, who are just a couple of artists that you really love listening to and would just be sharing like, hey, Scott, you got to know about these people?
Well, I'm constantly turning to Wilco. I think they're one of the greatest. I mean, that totally fits for me, right? Yeah. I'm constantly listening to Wilco and re-exploring them. In terms of current artists, I love a lot of current pop music. Sabrina Carpenter's new album is really, really good, really, really clever. Any particular artist down the rabbit hole I go? I mean, I've been rediscovering Elliott Smith, who I didn't pay much attention to, but like Mac DeMarco's new album is pretty good. And I listen to my daughters a lot. They've introduced me to a lot. My younger one is into what I call chicks who whisper, like Gracie Abrams, like whispering from their diary. That can get a bit much, but every 5th or 6th song can be really interesting. And I love the production techniques that are being used on modern pop music. Yes, it's very in your face and like iPhone friendly, but it just sounds good. It sounds good to me like an early Big Star's albums, which, early Big Star, that sounds like it was done yesterday by, who's the dude with the beard? The philosopher dude everybody loves? The guy who wrote the book on meditation.
Nietzsche? No.
No. The guy who's still with us, who wrote the book on artistry. Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. As soon as we're done with our interview.
Rubin.
Yes, Rick Rubin.
Huh.
It sounds like early Big Star. It was done in like the early 70s. It sounds like Rick Rubin produced it yesterday. It's fantastic. Yeah. And I like those modern techniques and the young artists using them.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, there's so much content out there because music is now content, but there's so much to find and enjoy. And that's one of the things we love about telling these stories here on The Hang, is giving people an opportunity to talk about what they're into and how they got here and what they're passionate about. And I think that being able to realize that music and art are timeless, and no matter what age you are, you can enjoy something new. You're not relegated to the dustbin of what happened, in the past, I think is great. So
all true,
Eric,
but
I think
clearly we're almost done.
I think we're getting our cue there, Eric. Yeah, our cue is that the lights are going out on this show. So everybody, hey, just go out, support Eric. If you're up in the tri-state area, so those of you watching there know what I'm talking about, and you see that Eric is playing out, go support him, his artistry, and support the artists that we have here on The Hang. We really enjoy bringing these episodes. Thank you, Eric. It was great getting to know you, and thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Scott, and thanks to anybody who listens. Much appreciated.
All right, everybody, be well out there, treat each other well, and we'll see you on the next Hang. Thanks so much. Bye for now.